Okay, so
Hmm.
let's unpack this. We've got a really interesting stack of sources here today. It's all about something called Operation Shadowlands 2025.
Hmm.
Now, first glance, it looks like an Airsoft event, right?
Yeah.
But digging in, wow, there's a lot more to it than just running around a field.
Oh, absolutely. What jumps out immediately is just how much world building they've done. It's got this whole detailed future history, different factions fighting each other, specific rules of engagement.
And this quest, right,
Yeah.
for some kind of powerful artifact.
Yeah, exactly. The core of eternity. It's really layered.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive, then, is to
Right.
kind of walk you through this world they've created. We'll look at the story, the narrative that sets everything up,
Understand who these groups are, what makes them pick.
right? And maybe the most interesting part is seeing how all that story stuff actually, translates into how you play the game on the day.
Yeah, it's like a mix of post-apocalyptic lore and actual tactical planning. Gonna be interesting.
All right, so let's set the scene. Where does this story even begin? The sources say year 2034.
Right, 2034. And this is significantly after some huge conflict they just call the Great War. So the world's already kind of broken.
Fragmented.
Yeah.
Still dealing with the fallout. But the current problem, the thing driving this event's story, is they've found something, this core of eternity.
Exactly, rediscovered it. And it's
Yeah.
not just, a shiny rock.
No kidding. The way they describe it, it's this relic, rumored to be an energy source that could power whole cities for millennia. That sounds game-changing.
Totally, way beyond anything the pre-war world had. And you can imagine in a world that's struggling, finding something like that.
It changes everything.
Right, it basically kicks off the fighting again, or at least intensifies it, between these three main factions. They all see the core as the key to their version of the future.
Makes sense. If you have that kind of power, you can really try to shape things your way.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the factions themselves. They're not just colors on a map. They have real motivations. First one is the Forgotten.
The Forgotten, yeah. And their goal is pretty unique. They're not trying to rebuild the old world. They actually want to build something completely new, like a self-sufficient society. Maybe even a kind of utopia.
Huh. Free from the corruption they think caused the war in the first place.
Exactly. So for them, the core isn't about powering up old cities. It's more like the key to making their small communities truly last, maybe even expand their influence, prove their way is better.
And they're based in the Shadowlands, right? They won some previous fight there.
Yeah, they consolidated power there, control resources. But there's this interesting bit about internal conflict. Some leaders want to use the core to expand, get bigger.
Well, others are worried. Like,
Yeah.
using it will just bring trouble.
Right, attract the exact kind of attention they tried to escape. It's a cool dynamic.
And their look matches that story. The source says, like, civilian clothes, but functional, tactical, post-apocalyptic scavenger look.
Patches, maybe prop gas masks, mismatched gear, earthy tones, browns, grays, denim.
But definitely not full matching military camo. Or like clean, slick black gear.
No, none of that. Recommended stuff is like chest rigs, shoulder bags, improvised kit, chamois, welding goggles, things you'd scavenge or put together yourself. They look like survivors.
Okay, then in pretty much direct contrast, we have the Last Hope.
Yeah, the last hope. And their goal is basically the opposite of the Forgotten. They want to restore order, rebuild civilization exactly how it was before the war.
So for them, the core is everything. It's the key to fixing the infrastructure, bringing back cities, leading humanity forward by, well, going backward to what worked before.
Pretty much. They see it as their destiny, almost. The source mentions they actually lost a previous fight in the Shadowlands area.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but they pulled back, rebuilt their strength in military bases elsewhere. And they have a named leader, Commander Elion.
And their uniform guidelines definitely scream military. Green-based camos like woodland or tan-based like multicam.
Yeah.
Solid green coyote.
Right, you can mix the green and tan stuff, but the overall vibe has to be tactical, organized, no black camo, no civilian clothes, no bright colors.
Their recommended gear is standard issue stuff too. Plate carriers, chest rigs, helmets, gloves, comms. They look like the remnants of an actual army trying to impose order.
And then the third group, operating from the shadows, you have the Shroud.
Okay, and their motivation sounds simpler, just power.
Pretty much, yeah. Pure dominion. They want to be on top, uncontested control over everyone else.
So the core for them isn't about rebuilding or creating something new. It's just the ultimate weapon.
Exactly. It's the tool they need to crush opposition, fuel their rise to absolute power. Power is something you take and use to dominate.
And their history. They got pushed out of the Shadowlands, too.
Yeah, forced out, but they didn't just give up. They went underground, operated in secret, built up their strength quietly. Their leader is just called Umbraxis, very shadowy.
And their look is designed to be intimidating.
Uh,
All black. Solid black tactical clothing or black-based camo like multicam black.
right, everything has to be black or mostly black. Rigs, pants, and especially face coverings, balaclavas, masks. They want that menacing look.
No green, no tan, new civilian stuff. Just black.
Mm-hmm. Recommended gear even includes things like full-face masks to look scarier, tactical helmets, sleek rigs, maybe comms gear or NVG mounts. They're meant to look like a professional, terrifying force.
Wow. So you've got these three really different groups. Build something new and free, restore the old order, or just take control by force.
And they're all converging on this one incredibly powerful artifact. It sets up a really potent conflict for the actual event.
Which brings us to how this all plays out on the field. The event itself, Operation Shadowlands 2025. It's happening September 27th, 2025.
Yep, down at Airsoft Charleston in North Charleston, South Carolina.
And the source calls it a full-day immersive experience. 3 factions, intense missions. Sounds like a lot.
It definitely looks like a packed day, structured like a mini campaign. You've got Arrival and Chrono. That's where they check your airsoft on speed for safety, for anyone new.
Right. That starts at 8 a.m., then a safety briefing at 8:30. Phase 1, the first gameplay block, starts at 9:30.
Then they have breaks built in, lunch at noon. Phase 2 starts at 1:30 p.m., then another break for dinner and giveaways at 4 p.m.
Giveaways are always nice.
Phase 3 starts at 5:30 p.m. going into the evening. The end game, the big finale, is at 7:30 p.m., and they announce the winner right after, 7:40 p.m. It's a long day.
Yeah, really playing through a whole conflict.
Yeah.
And on top of the regular field rules at Airsoft Charleston, which the source says are the main priority,
Right, those always come first.
there's this extra layer of event-specific rules designed to make the game feel like this specific story.
Yeah, and some of these rules really change how you have to play.
Okay, let's get into those. First off, no bang-bang rule. You actually have to hit someone with a BB.
And clear hits required.
Yeah.
Then the bases. Your main base is like your headquarters. Super important. Enemies cannot capture it.
Okay.
And it's the only place you can reload your magazines or change your batteries. That's huge for logistics. Your CO, your commander, is usually stationed there too.
So that's your safe zone. But there are also forward spawn points out on the field.
Right, scattered around. And these can be captured, usually with flags. They act as respawn points closer to the action, along with your main base. Controlling them is key to pushing forward.
Makes sense. Now, what happens when you get hit? The rules sound pretty specific.
Yeah, they are. When you're hit, you immediately drop, show your red dead rag so people know you're out, and you start a 3-minute bleed out timer.
3 minutes. Okay. Can you move?
Well, you can't move yourself, but a teammate can help you. They can physically move you, like dragging you by your gear maybe. But here's the catch. While they're moving you, they can only use their sidearm, their pistol.
Oh, wow. So you can't just have a rifleman easily pull someone back under fire.
Exactly. Makes rescues riskier. If nobody gets to you within that 3 minutes, you're fully dead for that life and have to walk back to a spawn point.
Okay, but there is a medic system.
There is, but it's limited. You can only be revived by a medic twice per life. So between respawns,
How does revive work?
a teammate acts as the medic. They have to put a hand on you and count aloud, clearly, to 10 seconds.
Okay.
And just like moving someone, the person doing the medic count can only use their secondary weapon while they're doing it. If they get shot, have to take their hand off, or stop counting for any reason, the count resets, you have to start over.
So it takes dedicated effort and cover. And after 2 medic revives,
That's it for that life. The next time you get hit, after your 3-minute bleed out, you're heading straight back to spawn. No more medic saves until you respawn.
that really forces you to be careful, value your lives, and protect your teammates. Changes the whole flow compared to just running back instantly.
Definitely encourages more teamwork. And one more key rule area, magazines.
Ammo limits.
Sort of. It's mostly about the type of magazine. Mid-capacity magazines only for standard rifles and SMGs.
Yeah.
No high caps with the big winding wheels.
Okay, so everyone has roughly similar ammo counts before needing to reload mags. What's the exception?
LMGs. Light machine guns. Those support gunners are allowed to use box or drum magazines, giving them that sustained fire capability.
Gotcha. So standard players need to be more tactical with shots, while LMGs provide the heavy firepower. Makes sense for team roles.
And all these rules, the bases, the bleed out, the medics, the mags, they all feed into the specific missions they have planned for the day.
Right, the missions that actually drive the story forward.
Yeah.
What kind of objectives are we talking about? There's one called Marked Assassination.
Yeah. In that one, a specific player on one team is designated the high-value target, the HVT. They're marked somehow so you can identify them.
Okay.
The opposing teams need to find that HVT, eliminate them, and this is key, retrieve a physical marker or token from them. Then they have to get that marker all the way back to their own main base to score points.
What if the HVT manages to survive?
If the HVT makes it through the mission time limit without being eliminated and the marker taken, then their team gets the points instead. Creates a really dynamic objective, could be anywhere on the field.
Cool. What else? There's a capture target mission.
Yeah.
This sounds more like a retrieval. A specific item, maybe an ammo box, could be a prop artifact like the core gets placed somewhere in a contested area.
And teams have to fight to grab it.
Right. Grab it and transport it safely back to their main base. The interesting twist here is if the player carrying the objective gets hit.
They drop it.
Exactly. The item drops right where they were hit, which immediately creates a new hotspot, a mini objective for everyone nearby to fight over.
Adds chaos. I like it. Then there's a bomb run and defuse. Sounds destructive.
It does. One team is the attacker carrying a bomb prop. They have to get it to a forward spawn point controlled by the enemy.
Okay.
Once they get there, they arm it, which starts a 5-minute timer. The defending team then has to find that bomb and defuse it, probably interacting with the prop somehow before the timer hits 0.
And if they don't, if the bomb goes off?
That forward spawn point is destroyed. Gone for the rest of the game, according to the source. They remove the flags, mark it with a red rag. It's out of play. Maybe an admin resets it later, but it's a big deal. Wow. Yeah, taking out a spawn point can completely change the map control for a whole phase. High stakes.
For sure. And the last mission type mentioned is really unique. Capture and rescue the CO.
Capturing the commanders. How does that work?
The commanding officers, the COs, who might be specific players or characters, can be captured if they're hit in their bleed-out phase, or if they choose to surrender under certain conditions.
Okay, so you capture the enemy CO, then what? Drag him back to your base.
Actually, no. That's the interesting part. You escort the captured CO to any forward spawn point that your team controls, not your main base.
Huh, why there?
Maybe easier access keeps the action moving, but then, to get their CO back, the other team needs to launch a rescue.
How do they rescue them?
A teammate has to get to the captured CO at that forward spawn, touch them, and do a 10-second count, just like the medic revive.
Okay, same mechanic.
Right. If they complete the count, the CO is rescued. But they're not instantly back in action. They then have to be escorted safely all the way back to their own main base to be fully operational again.
That sounds complex. Creates missions within missions, protect your COs, assault enemy spawns to capture theirs, launch rescues. Lots of potential there.
Yeah, it really layers the strategy.
So if this whole immersive, objective-heavy airsoft thing sounds like your cup of tea, the sources do give the details on how to actually get involved.
Right, the practical stuff. There are different ticket levels.
Yeah, a base ticket for $69 gets you entry and an event patch. Then there's a premium ticket for $89 that adds a team-specific patch, an entry for a giveaway, and an event t-shirt.
And the top tier is the Conqueror ticket at $119. That gets you everything the premium does, plus entry into a separate, maybe better Conqueror's giveaway, a special keychain, and another specific patch.
So options depending on how much swag or extras you want, but importantly, everyone, regardless of ticket.
Has to follow the main Airsoft Charleston field rules, and you've got to do their online waiver before you show up. Standard stuff for organized events.
They also mentioned some sponsors and vendors being there. Airsoft Charleston, obviously, plus a musician Brandon Lamar Simmons, a drink vendor Squeezing the Lowcountry, and food from Bacon's Bridge. Sounds like a full setup.
Yeah, they seem to be aiming for a complete event experience, not just the game itself.
So wrapping this all up, looking at everything from these sources, Operation Shadowlands 2025 isn't just, a weekend airsoft game. It's way more ambitious.
Definitely. It's this attempt to build a whole narrative world and then actually layer it onto the gameplay mechanics in a meaningful way.
It really pushes you as a player to think beyond just shooting opponents. You're supposed to step into the role of someone fighting for a specific vision of the future.
Right, representing the Forgotten or the Last Hope or the Shroud, all fighting over this incredibly powerful core of eternity.
And the rules, the missions. They're designed to make you feel that conflict, to make your actions on the field connect back to those larger goals.
Hmm.
It's not just about points. It's about, bombing an enemy spawn or rescuing your commander.
It's a really fascinating example of how storytelling can make even a tactical sport like Airsoft feel, well, deeper, more immersive.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? If you were actually dropped into that world, 2034, after the war, with this core up for grabs, which path would you even choose? Would you fight to rebuild the past with the last hope? Try to build something totally new, maybe flawed with the forgotten? Or would the sheer power offered by the Shroud be too tempting?
Yeah. Order, freedom, or dominance. It's a heavy choice. Makes you wonder what you'd actually fight for.